Look at buddy here. Skipped leg day his whole life. What are you doing? Come here. What are you doing? Oh. Worst golden retriever ever. Have never brought me back any gold. What is going on, guys? Check out what we have on the go outside right now. There's a whole lot of nonsense happening. So this is typical East Coast snow. Essentially we have about a foot of snow down. Now it's changed to ice pellets. Now it's probably going to change to rain within probably an hour as soon as it molds up. So we have to get our CENTAUR ready and get that up and running. Now our CENTAUR has actually been working very well. I'm very impressed with it. Every time I take it out and plow snow with it though, I end up breaking something. And believe it or not, it's usually the Argo parts that have broken and not what I've done, believe it or not. Sometimes I have a little bit of drivetrain issues, but whatever. So the first thing I done yesterday, as soon as I backed it in here, I have this kind of just left open for rudimentary purposes, just to visual aid you. This tab here actually broke. So the way these are actually shifting, it's a dual cable setup that runs back to your gearbox. And the center block is kind of like a neutral, so it's a safety as well. Essentially you can't shift one without putting the other one in neutral. I had to make this bracket, this little tiny shift mechanism last night. Essentially I made a V into it, and what I'd done, I actually slotted these holes down below. That way as it's coming over, I can actually get a little bit more bite, side bite on those shift blocks. So the original, we'll go back to the original here now. This right here is actually a factory part. Obviously I cut the shifter portion off of it. As you can see, it's been welded a dozen times, but what ends up happening is that these welds crack over time on these tabs. There's not a whole lot of weld on those. So I made mine angled, so give it a little bit more surface area, and it's all one piece. So hopefully that is stronger. So I have to ear up our tires and get the old girl running and move some frozen ice pellets around, I guess. So if you're not really familiar with Argos or anything that's tracked, I guess, in this orientation, I guess you're kind of wondering how these tracks kind of stay on or how you mount them. You can run this machine without tracks. I think it looks so much more badass with tracks, so that's like 90% of the reason that I run it. My driveway is all paved, so realistically, I should be able to get away with tires for what I'm actually doing, but I think it looks so much cooler with tracks, so I'm gonna keep the tracks on and deal with the headache, because I have de-tracked this machine probably 12 times this season. But it comes down to pretty much operator negligence, because usually what'll end up happening, I'll end up doing like a quick 360 turn and end up hitting a large chunk of ice right on the back. That actually detracts it sometimes, but a lot of the issue comes down to tire pressures. So the way this works, you jack your machine up, deflate all your tires. You actually have to measure your tires to find the proper diameters, match them up left and right. As it's jacked up, put your tracks on with this hinge setup. It's just a pin that slides through that connects it. Now these tracks actually have a couple different ones because I made essentially 2 tracks out of 4 tracks just to kind of make it all work, because I believe the proper CENTAUR tracks, they're listed for like $14,000 and they're just 18-inch rubber tracks. So guess who's not paying that for tracks? So once you have that up in the air, you start inflating your tires and keep an eye on your sag. Now your sag is between the bottom of your tire and the top of your track, and usually it's probably roughly around 3 inches, somewhere it has to be around there. Now the issue with I run into is that a lot of people don't realize, and myself included, I guess I kind of get complacent on it, I kind of forget about it, is that this machine weighs over 3,000 pounds. I believe the shipping weight on these are like 2,800. So you put the tracks, you put the Kubota, you put my blade, we're every bit of 3,500. So what I've been doing, I've been putting 12 to 13 PSI in my centers, 4 in the center, and then I go, I think 7 and 6, 7 and 6. Most lighter Argos, they tell you can probably run 5 all the way along, or you can actually run like 5, 7 and 7 and 5 or something like that. Now the reason it's usually a little bit more air pressure in the centers is because your two end tires, your front and your back, essentially they are buffers or some sort of absorption of the track, because this track has to move over obstacles. So you want your sidewalls flexible, that it can actually take the strain of that track. If you have everything too tight, well, it's just putting a lot of strain on your bearings and whatnot. Now I'm operating on relatively flat. Like I just spoke about, we have really weird snow, so the second that gets tracked in and packed down, when you hit that, especially with a 3,000 pound machine, it becomes like a solid object. I'm after coming down the driveway, probably doing like 8 and hitting one of those, and like, swear to God, I'm going out through the windshield. They're just so rough. So what I'm gonna do is just go around here and check the tires and see what they are, because I think I'm gonna need some new tubes in these in the future. They do kind of leak out overnight. So if you're wondering, I'm actually waiting on a couple more electrical parts to come in so I can wire up all my lights correctly. I want to put a main shut off there. I bought these pretty cool bus bars that I'm actually going to mount on probably a panel inside somewhere with large switch panel, maybe. And I'm waiting for a fuse to go in line between my battery and the bus bar. That's on order. Then probably just a little bit of wiring, and then I can actually wire it in correctly. I could just kind of, like I say, do it very, very grossly and just kind of throw it together and it'll work. But Fowler's Law states whatever can go right will not go right. So I try to do it right the first time. So the old girl should be able to fire up. -16 degrees Celsius, so I'm kind of thinking we don't need glow plugs. Broke my windshield. I was actually stacking snow and I hit a branch, and I was kind of assuming that like this 1.5 by 1.5 tubing would have took the branch, the brunt of the tree, but I kind of forgot that these are mounted on the outside of that. So unfortunately it hit the side of my windshield and cracked my windshield. Smart. So yeah, back to the clutching part of it. These are CV Tech 50 block primary, I believe. I'm not really sure what comes on them from factory. Of course, this is all kind of stuff I made up. I had the machine and adapter and whatnot, so there was quite a bit of work in here. It's kind of, I want to say, preliminarily put together just for a test run. I want to take all this back out in a future video and redo my engine plate and everything, but for now it's working, so we're going to keep going for the rest of the winter, which I thought this winter was over, to be quite honest with you. So the primary spring I'll be replacing it with again is actually the original spring that this came with, I believe, that the clutch itself came with. This one just had a little bit higher end rate and a little bit higher engagement, so I wanted to just try it and see what the outcome would be, to see if it would be any better whatsoever. But I don't like it. Not a fan. That's pretty much it for that. Just like that, we're back on the snow. Alright guys, round two. Let's try with a little bit of I guess you would call it a weaker spring. Alright guys, so like I said in the previous part of this video, the tracks are a headache. Well, as you can see, it's gone full rain here now. I think I got enough kind of accomplished to keep us getting in and out of the driveway, but not really sure. I guess you guys are going to see how I put tracks back on. So guys, I have lost the track. I have detracked it. Now, what's the reason for this? I have no idea. This happens more than I'd like to admit. So the first things first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to check my tire pressures, see if any of the tire pressures leaked out. Maybe one's gone flat or something. I never caught it. I'm going to take a pin out of this track and I'm going to stretch it out all the way and I'm going to measure it. Try to find some specs online to see maybe if the track is too long. I can't really see it stretching, but this piece here, which is a hinge that someone made at some point, now that I'm playing with it, almost seems like it's seized up. Okay, no, it's fine. Maybe that makes that track a little bit too long. The right thing to do would probably be take that track off, stretch two of them out, and try to find a spec online. So then that way I could probably cut them to length, see if they are actually after getting longer or if somewhere along the line they've been made too long. But yeah, bear with me. We'll figure it out. So the first thing I want to do is just check my tire pressure just to see if anything did drop in pressure at all. That one seems fine. That's 8.5 in that one. The pressures in this one is much greater than what you would find on a factory Argo. So 14 on that one. So you would think that with more air pressure, the track would be tighter and, you know, it'd probably be harder on bearings, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't come off. I'm running pretty much all flat ground there. All right, so this one here is, okay, this one's 11 PSI. So that one came down just a little touch, but nothing drastic. It always seems to come off the back. And that one's 8. So like I said previously in this video, I believe they usually run some sort of 5, 6, 6, 5 orientation, or just like straight 6 across the board. That's on a regular Argo that's probably roughly around 1,500 pounds. These here, of course, this one's being, you know, I can see this definitely being 3,500. So what I try to do when I'm actually plowing my yard, especially where it's all paved, I make straight cuts. Technically, I could, if the tracks wouldn't come off, I could literally back out beside the garage and do a 180 turn and then go back up the driveway and plow that way. But I'm so nervous of always detracking it that's why I take my time and just go back and forth in super straight runs. And if I have to turn at all, I do the whole Austin Powers thing. So all my tire pressures are fine. What I'm probably going to do is just check the length of this and see if that is the issue. Maybe this could be shortened just a little bit somehow. I'll find online. I need to find as well if the CENTAUR chassis is just a little bit longer than regular Argos, or if they're smaller. I don't know if they're built on the same chassis or not as the regular 8-wheel Argo, so I got to find that out. This one does have the heavy-duty turf tires, which is what it calls for with these 18-inch tracks and the CENTAUR, so it's not a tire issue. They still seem to have a lot of thread left on them, so I'm not sure that's the issue as well. So I think the only thing I can really do right now is take the pin out of that, which I got to do anyways to install it, and just get an overall measurement and probably see, maybe I can shorten the track maybe a little bit. Other than that, I don't really know what else would be the issue. It has a lot of new guides there that we'll just touch on now in a second, but maybe it needs all brand new guides. Let's take it apart and see what we can come up with. So pretty simplistic design here, as you can see, guys, nothing too serious. Just a pin that slides through these hinges. You just use a cotter pin then to solidify it, keep it from backing out. So nothing too serious. I'm going to beat this pin out of the hinge, and then that just comes apart in 2 pieces. Well, 1 piece, I guess. Sorry, there's not a whole lot of room in the shop. This is the issue when you run a small business, mobile fabrication, and you have a lot of junk you got to work on. So waiting for the customer to come pick this up. That's a guardrail. Waiting for a customer to come pick these up, which is for, I designed these for a tow behind compressor. So they came out good. Plus I got my own junk that I do a lot of work on. So bear with me. I'm getting through it. I just don't have a lot of camera angles for you guys. Remember, kids, always hit your pin towards customer's freshly painted guardrail. That's what you got to do. Remember, always do that. So as you can see with the track rolled out, this section here is actually brand new rubber, and I went and bought all new plastic guides for the new section. This old section that starts here and goes back, these have old guides, and I'm wondering if that's probably a little bit of an issue. I'm not sure, because they kind of have a lot of flex and movement, whereas these are pretty solid. I don't know if that's helping or hurting, but you see this one has a couple different hinges in it as well. I actually made this hinge. I ended up tearing pretty drastically right here, probably like 6 to 8 inches, and the only way I could fix it was build my own hinge. So I designed that, CNC cut it on the table, and it came out pretty good. Now this one here was already on it when I bought the machine. The tracks that came with it, of course, was, well, that section, and they were in insanely terrible shape, believe it or not. So what I done was just kind of made 2 semi-good tracks out of 4, I guess you would say. So I'm gonna measure it and see if I can find some information online. Maybe this is too long. Maybe it has something to do with 3 hinges in it, maybe, I'm not sure. But I'm gonna do a bit of research and see what I can come up with. Okay. So I went ahead and jacked this thing up. This is a cool thing when you get a down pressure blade. Just put down pressure on there and jack up the back, and Bob's your uncle. Makes it easy. So everyone should have down pressure blade on their CENTAUR. So I went ahead and jacked this thing up because I wanted to check the sag. It's kind of hard to see there, but essentially when you get all your air pressure on here, you check your sag between these 2 center tires. Now they're supposed to be somewhere between 1 inch and 3 inches, I've read online. This one's set right at 1.5 inches. That tire has 1.5 inches between the top of the track, we're going to call it, and the bottom of the tire. And same with here. So I feel like the sag on this side is perfect. I feel like that's exactly where it needs to be. So now I get the ear down, take that track off, and then I'll just make sure that track that we have over here is the exact same length as the other track, and hopefully that'll get us in kind of a ballpark. Once again, if I had more of an accurate measurement, of course, that's probably what I would put it at, and then I'd go from there. But I don't know if it's a CENTAUR thing, I don't know if it's an Argo thing, but so I went ahead and jacked this thing up. This is a cool thing when you get a down pressure blade. Just put down pressure on there and jack up the back, and Bob's your uncle. Makes it easy. So everyone should have down pressure blade on their CENTAUR. So I went ahead and jacked this thing up because I wanted to check the sag. It's kind of hard to see there, but essentially when you get all your air pressure on here, you check your sag between these 2 center tires. Now they're supposed to be somewhere between 1 inch and 3 inches, I've read online. This one's set right at 1.5 inches. That tire has 1.5 inches between the top of the track and the bottom of the tire. And same with here. So I feel like the sag on this side is perfect. I feel like that's exactly where it needs to be. So now I get the ear down, take that track off, and then I'll just make sure that track that we have over here is the exact same length as the other track, and hopefully that'll get us in kind of a ballpark. Once again, if I had more of an accurate measurement, of course, that's probably what I would put it at, and then I'd go from there. But I don't know if it's a Centaur thing, I don't know if it's an Argo thing, but there's not really a whole lot of information out there on the internet about them. It's a very like dealer-based thing. I've been running into that a lot with this thing. Even the Kubota engine, it's an industrial engine. You find those more so, try to keep the glare. This is a 360 camera, guys, so that's where the glare comes from, those little lenses and eyes. So
he made me this color so that I may talk. Squirrel!
But anyways, even with the Kubota engine, where it's more of an industrial engine, you get parts for that. They're always looking for like a VIN number to match it up, to find what reefer came out of. I'm like, man, good luck, because I have no idea myself. But anyways, let's go ahead and take that track off. I'm gonna have a bit of coffee, and we'll get to measuring. I always like water in my garage. That's everybody likes water in their garage. So I'm just going to remove the valve stems from all these tires, let them air down. Make sure you're going to put them somewhere that you can lose them and spend 3 hours looking for them. So guys, I think I may have found another culprit here, and it's only because I was just kind of walking past the machine with no tracks on it. It was out in my yard, and I just walked by and I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. So this might be another culprit, and I've been kind of thinking, and I want you guys to comment down below if you're watching this and give me your opinion on it. But with no tracks on this machine, this back tire, it's off the ground. Now, I have the blade kind of taken off the machine weight-wise, so I'm kind of thinking, where I mentioned before previously in this video, I actually have the two center tires aired up to like 10, 12, 13. I've been playing with air pressures quite a bit, and I have roughly between 5 and 8 in the front and the back. Once again, I've been playing with air pressures. I'm wondering if this then becomes almost a pivot point, and you guys once again can comment down below. Essentially, there's a bulk of weight here, so that's why I used to put a bulk of the air pressure in the center. You're set right here, essentially, but then you have this whole big blade system overhung on the front. With less air pressure here in the front, these have, 10, 12, 13. This probably crushes a little bit and then takes the back tires off the ground, just a minuscule amount. And I'm wondering now, I'm going to take a couple tires off here and actually check the diameter, because if it isn't the diameter that's off, maybe there's something bent there that I'm not seeing. But I think maybe if I put the tracks back on and run equal tire pressure right through, whether that be 10 or 12, to get my sag, I'm wondering if that'll get me in a better ballpark area and just leave it like that. But maybe what I'll do now, I'm going to jack this thing up yet again, and I'm going to take this tire off, probably just measure a couple other tires with probably, I don't know, 10 psi in them, and just see where that gets me. And maybe I'm better just running straight 10 psi or 12, whatever it takes, just to get, if you had all the pressure essentially on the front three when you're turning, and this was to hook a little bit of snow, I feel like this would be the weak point that would want to kind of roll off. And it always does, it always rolls off on this back corner. So maybe just the diameter is off on this one. Maybe this one's worn more so than another one, and I can just swap it out, and maybe that'll be a fix as well. Guys, so I found out a couple different things. What I've actually done, I've taken a few tires off and just kind of more so eyeballed them. I took a couple diameter measurements, but to be honest with you, they're kind of all over the place. So what I've done, I've set every 8 tire at 10 psi, and then I started kind of like eyeballing, and I kind of measured and played with it the best I could. What I've come to realize is that that one over in that corner was totally different diameter, and the one in front of it was actually probably one of the bigger tires, and that one was kind of one of the smaller tires. So that's why that was kind of off the ground. So that is kind of a big culprit. But once I started taking tires off and kind of actually looking at them and actually deep diving into them, I started to notice that a lot of the tires on that inside surface area towards the tub, they actually kind of angled in. So I guess the track may have been sitting a little bit off as well. So what I've done, I found my 4 squares tires within the proper diameter, the best I could get it. That's what's on the 4 corners now. Let's just say if this one was 40 inches in diameter, hypothetically, then over there I put it 40 inches close as I could get it, and vice versa. The 4 center ones, I kind of just went with diameters, just trying to make it as close as possible. Some of them wore very weird, so I'm assuming they were probably used as the outside tires, probably the most, and that's why they wore a bit weird. And that's probably why that one back there was a bit weird. It was just wore so far that maybe the angle. And there's also another thing there that I noticed. Some of these have tubes, some of them don't. So I'm wondering, does the tube inflate inside a bit different and then you have a different kind of contour or something on the outside of the tire? Maybe that's a possibility as well. But I think for the most part, they're kind of just wore in a bit weird. So maybe a fresh set of tires would actually help drastically. But it would just be kind of squarer, but the tread itself seems fine. So I think what I'm actually going to do, I'm just going to jack this thing back up and I'm going to put those tracks back on. And I'm going to set my sag at probably 1 to 2 inches. And I'm just going to go right across the board, whatever it is. If it's 10, 11 PSI, 12 PSI, 13 PSI. I'm just going to go right across the board, the exact same on all 8 tires, and just see where that gets me. Now, I am going to fix those tracks. I've mentioned this probably a couple times. I'm probably repeating myself. I do want to do those cleats or those guides. I'll order those in and probably mix match. I'm not going to buy 80 of them because it'll be like $1,600 in those plastic guides. I'm not going to do that. So I might order in 10 or 20 and just mix match. But I'm going to put new backers on them and new hardware. But once again, we have fresh paint here. I'm kind of pushing my luck as is. So I'm going to jack this thing up. And what we'll end up doing is put those tracks back on, and I might even take that track that always used to keep falling off on that side, put it over here maybe, and just see if there's any difference for whatever reason. But let's hit that. I'll drag those back in and see what we can come up with. So it's going to be kind of hard to get you guys in here, but essentially all I have done, I have all the air pressure taken out of every tire. I already have that side done. I just cross from one side of the track to the other, and I start out here and go in this way because you're going to want to put your pin in through here. So if you can get this outside hinge started, once you put your pin in there, that'll pretty much work its way in and makes it a lot easier. Now, these can actually be staggered. So if you put this tooth in the wrong slot, your track will actually kind of go off one way or the other. So you have to make sure that when you're putting these on. Other than that, it's not too bad. You just kind of have to manhandle it and make up a few more swear words that never existed before. And other than that, it's not so bad. Now you could come in here with another ratchet strap, haul it all together, but I don't really think it's needed for, you know. Then you put on a new washer in here, new cotter pin. Then you're ready to reinflate your tires. All right, so I have the tracks back on. I have 10.5 PSI in all 8 tires right now. This side here is actually a little bit longer side, the one that's 1/2 inch longer. So when I do plan on taking all this apart and actually making new backers and whatnot and new hardware, I'm going to take the 1/2 inch out of there. I think that's drastic that we actually do that. So we are going to do that. But I have about 1.5 inches right here of sag, and roughly here is like 1.25 inches. So it does make a difference. I think that's even on the tight side, but I'm going to try it for now just to see if any binding or anything like that. But yeah, I'm going to go with that. There's one other thing that we may as well take care of while we're here and in this general vicinity, I noticed. You can see that this backer is actually pulled through. So I'm going to remove this hardware, and I'm actually going to make one of my other backers for this while we're in the area. Now this is a good kind of visual representation of how these things wear. As you can tell, this one is quite old and quite wore out. But I think that's kind of like half my battle, as you can kind of tell. These are kind of very lively right now, and it kind of kicks in this way. So if you run up on anything on your track, especially where we were having that issue with the back tire, and the edge of your track kind of goes in like so, well, that kind of gets sucked in between your tires. I've been kind of messing around with an idea how to kind of make them myself, probably out of aluminum or steel. What I find with aluminum or steel with these type of products, if it bends, well, then it's going to eat your sidewall, and then you're into another issue. We're going to try this for now. This will help this section anyways. Just make these out of 3/16 aluminum. Probably get away with 1/8 if you really wanted to. Really shouldn't be using a deep socket, but it's the first thing I grabbed. And that's a wrap for that. So I guess I'll get to try it out eventually. Like I say, I'm going to order in some new parts for it. I think that's definitely, you know, half the battle for sure. We definitely fixed a lot here today, but I really want to fix those guides. I think the guides are really what's kind of throwing me off there now. I know the tires are going to help drastically, how I change those around. I can check sag yet again. If I really wanted to, I could probably put another couple PSI. But I don't want these things bar tight. That's just something I don't want to deal with. In the future, I want to take this one off because this is a longer one. I want to trim a 1/2 inch out of that one and make sure they're the exact same, because if I have to put, you know, an extra 5 PSI in each tire on this side, well, that's kind of throwing everything off, because where everything's change driven, everything's solid. So it's best to have all PSI within spec, I would assume, on something like that. But with all that being said, guys, I'm going to back this thing out. I'm going to edit this video. And if you got this far, I appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one.